Recently, I stumbled upon Pinely's video on the Mr Beastification of YouTube. And honestly, I thought it was such a great video with a really original take. But it got me thinking, why does YouTube favor novelty so much? Why is there such a demand to constantly put out videos that are bigger and better and more shocking than the previous ones? As we explore this idea, you'll realize, just like I did, that the Mr Beastification of YouTube was inevitable. In certain markets, there's a phenomenon called demand for novelty, where people in these markets want new and unique products, but the desire can't be explained solely by practical usefulness or marketing campaigns. These markets are different from regular ones because novelty is a central factor in how much people value the product. These markets tend to grow extremely quickly, and products or services become outdated really fast. In these novelty-focused markets, first mover's advantage is still a large part of being successful, but it comes with new unique advantages and disadvantages, and sometimes it can pay off to copy someone else, which is why we see so much of this happening to creators like Mr Beast on YouTube. In the research paper Innovators and Imitators in a Novelty-Intensive Market by Todd Duet, one well-known finding is that being a pioneer, such as creating your own niche on YouTube, can lead to a long-term advantage in terms of market share. This is first mover's advantage. But on platforms like YouTube, it's also generally accepted that these advantages tend to diminish over time. And some research suggests that pioneering can be so challenging or uncertain that it might actually be a disadvantage, supported by the concept of the late mover's advantage, where companies that wait and learn from pioneers can sometimes perform better in the market. The reason is simple. Novelty-based markets are built off of uniqueness. So when we talk about novelty in products and services, we're basically talking about how unique the product or video is in relative to the others that already exist on the space. In markets where things are different from each other, companies can find gaps or spaces where their products fit, creating entirely new categories or types of products. But being unique is just one part of novelty. Things also need to be new. While unique products might stand out for a while, they become less new as people get used to them. For example, a new song you just found is very exciting when you listen to it at first, but over weeks of listening to it, you get used to it and it loses the magic it once had. Usually, people want products for more than just being new. They also want them to work well. For example, a unique lamp still needs to provide light, and a good YouTube video still has to be entertaining. But the difference is that in markets like YouTube, being new actually often matters more than being useful, as the market is primarily an entertainment hub. But while novelty-based markets can lead to people quickly becoming successful, often they also have one major drawback. These markets grow quickly, and because products become old-fashioned fast, for example, when researchers looked at leisure products, which are things that people like to show off or talk about, they found out that these products grow fast and become old quickly. Mainly because the newness of these products wears off as more people get them, until the product becomes commonplace. This sets these markets apart from high-velocity markets, like the tech industry, where the focus is on major changes in technology that can make old skills and knowledge useless. On YouTube, something can blow up overnight, and then seamlessly disappear in a few years, like vlogging, for example, which was extremely popular in 2018. Given these unique characteristics, let's find out how creators can compete and what strategies they use in these markets when it comes to innovating or copying others. In a study about being the first to enter a market, Lieberman and Montgomery in 1998 suggested 3 main ways pioneers can benefit. First off, being first can help a company establish itself in the minds of consumers, like building loyalty to a product or brand. Second, being first can make it tough for customers to switch to a different product because they've already grown attached to the original creator. Third, if a pioneer's product becomes the standard, it can become more valuable as more people use it. Think about mobile phones. They become more useful as more people have them. Another example of this on YouTube is with Mr Beast. He posts increasingly larger and more shocking content because he has to maintain his audience. But as he does, new and large YouTubers themselves post videos about him or with him, looking to capitalize off his popularity to grow their own channels, leading to more and more people flocking to his channel. Even though speed and first mover's advantage are usually the most important things in building a business, things are a bit different in novelty-intensive markets. Usually, when the company is the first to make a new product, they have a market share lead that can last for a long time, sometimes even decades. But in markets where people want new things all the time, things are different. Because these markets grow so fast and products become old so quickly, being first doesn't give you a big advantage for a long time. So even though you might have more customers at first, it's harder to keep them coming back because they will always want something new. The only constant in novelty-based markets is innovation. To stay on top, just like Mr Beast has, you have to constantly come out with newer, bigger, and more shocking ideas, which can be very demanding. But this constant changing also leads to copycats. In markets where being new and different is super important, waiting a while before entering the market is usually not a good strategy. This is different from what we see in regular markets, where sometimes it's better to wait for a bit before jumping into the market. For example, if we look at crypto, Bitcoin still has the largest market share, but Ethereum, the second largest crypto, waited a while before jumping in, using that time to try and differentiate itself to slowly try and overtake that market share of Bitcoin. Of course, this strategy is risky too, and waiting too long can cause people to already become too familiar with the original channel's video types when the competitor comes in with their copied version. In markets where people want new and different things like YouTube, the chances of channels that copy others becoming successful decrease as they wait longer to enter the market after the original innovators. But this isn't the whole answer, because if copying others didn't work, we wouldn't see much of it on YouTube. Instead, first mover's advantage or being original versus copying others has an inverse relationship. On one hand, copying another creator, especially if you do it relatively soon after the new niche is established, leads to quick growth, as people are still attracted to the novelty of the new niche. But the problem is that copycats also die faster, because they are not first and they don't occupy a space in the consumer's mind. If the niche collapses, these types of channels are usually the first to go. So you grow quickly, but you also fall off quickly. Making your own niche is the opposite. It takes a really long time to grow and find your niche, but once you do, you're so different to anyone else on YouTube, you can develop sustained success and hold a piece of the consumer's mind for a long time. With all the data we've just laid out, the Mr Beastification of YouTube was inevitable. He was the first person to find out the formula, and if it wasn't him, it would have been someone else. His strategy was constantly shocking people with new stunts, inevitably retaining his viewers. But the copying of Mr. Beast's ideas also had an element of sustained success, contrary to what we've laid out. And that's why we see so much of it on YouTube. It's not necessarily copying the stunts, but instead copying the formula, constantly shocking your audience with novelty, something bigger, something newer, something crazier, something more expensive than before. I hypothesize that this trend of the Mr. Beastification of YouTube will not stay around for much longer. Sure, Mr. Beast will continue to have tremendous success, so I'm not talking about him, but the copying makes the stunts get old quickly. As more and more people copy his strategy, eventually, even though the copying of his formula is based off novelty and continually shocking people with novelty, it will still get old once enough people do it in this new niche as it becomes commonplace. But what do you think? Is there anything I missed in this video? Let me know. Cheers.